Today we're going to start a great experiment in the history of public access cable. I'm going to start reading a complete novel, and we'll see if you, the audience, have the guts to stick it through. We won't do it every week, but I know you'll be like the serials you used to see at the when you were a kid. If you're 70 years old now, you'll be looking forward to the next episode. Who knows when it will come? Maybe you won't be. Anyway, this is a book called The Fugs, and the book is looking for a publisher. And the book was written by a member of the 1960s rock group, the Fugs, and it's sort of a fictionalized version of the group's bizarre, entertaining, and educational experiences. It opens with coffeehouse readings on the Lower East Side in the early 60s. Then it goes to the Fugs' first performances, their first travel tour across country by minibus, to the Summer of Love, San Francisco. There were chapters on London, Germany, Scandinavia, Canadian experiences, peace movement confrontations in Washington, at the Pentagon, Chicago, the '68 convention where forming the foundation for that spurious trial of Abbey and 7 other people, and in Wisconsin, New York, and it wanders all over the place. Sketches of TV interviews, press abominatio, college life, and the inside story of the rock business. And it concludes, the novel does, with the end of the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War has ended, has it? Yeah, or is it still going on in Haiti, or what? In Rwanda, I think. An usual feature of the work will be the inclusion of real artifacts and works of art, photographs, posters, throwaway, leaflets, songs, poems, movie scripts, plays of the protagonists, either in the text itself or as illustrations. So here's chapter 1 of The Fugs. The chapter is called East is Yeast, and it starts in the Lower East Side in a coffee house. Mel Weisturd finished with a short burst of boring aphorisms and sat down to a mild outcropping of applause, mostly up front where it was unavoidable, very little from the hazy back where the audience was unobserved and in almost complete darkness. Yuri, that's Y-U-R-I, he's one of the main characters. Yuri's heart pit-pattered. He was next. Then Alex Rayburn announced in a semi-hysterical, high, ironically pitched voice, "Our next reader, a very special guest just in from the coast, the ever-popular Peter Moghul." Shit, thought Yuri. I'm all set and that schmuck walks in and gets placed just like that. Yuri had casually maneuvered himself into getting onto the poets list just at about the 3/4 mark, where the audience was best, warmed up and mellowing, yet not too late, too tired, or even G-D forbid, starting to drift out. That pompous, self-effacing putz just nonchalantly gets himself the best spot as always, said Yuri. He smiled pleasantly to Moghul, but Peter didn't notice. Moghul took the podium and asked for less light over himself, please, and began a long tirade against the United States Steel Corporation and their involvement in the manufacture of syringes for shooting heroin. Yuri suddenly flashed back on how during World War II, what are we fighting for? World War II, a Shachtmanite Trotskyite had finally proved the economic nature of the war to him by the fact that cases of soap made of rendered Jews had just been found in occupied Greece. And by the way, that has never been proven. I mean, the Nazis were bad enough. They didn't have time to use soap. Moghul then began shaking and in a deep cantorial voice sang 12 complete mantras, accompanied on the ringing handbells by his sidekick and reputed wife, Ethan Gallow. He prefaced each mantra with an explanation and partial translation from the Nepalese, having only recently returned from a 3-year sojourn on the subcontinent. After the 8th mantra, some members of the audience were getting a little restless and again began trying to order coffee in voices louder and coarser than usual. Moghul ended with a long scream and, wiping the sweat from his thick black glasses, received a thunderous ovation. The lights went up and the 2 young waitresses descended from behind the enormous espresso machine like 2 official hospital orderlies and began taking orders amidst an exciting, cacophonous hubbub. Many people left once the star had read, and Brutus Rappaport, the muscular proprietor, let more people in. He had been a karate instructor in the Air Force, and upon release from the service 3 years ago, a Korea veteran, he had opened his bistro, as he called it, on 2nd Avenue near St. Mark's, M-A-R-X place, in the heart of the new burgeoning, quote, East Village. The place floundered for a while, but then his wife, Kate, a local girl, conceived of the idea of inviting the poets in to read every Wednesday night. It soon became one of the most popular places, and together with the used furniture and books they sold, everything you sat on was for sale, and a thriving bookie business, Brutus was able to conjure up, with the help of his wife's uncle, that is the bookie business his wife's uncle helped him with, the place was soon bringing in a tidy sum, even though, as Brutus said, there were a bunch of deadheads, too, who never ordered anything but coffee for 25 cents. The poetic reputation of the place brought in uptowners and Brooklynites all during the week, and when someone like Moghul read, if it was known beforehand, as it obviously was somehow tonight, the place was so packed that it was SRO, with people lining up outside, even in all sorts of weather. Yuri ordered a cafe latte and cursed his luck. He noticed that the place was no longer full. Moghul himself was now leaving, not waiting to hear him, of course, and taking with him a large coterie of hangers-on, or tuchasleckers, ass-lickers, as Yuri so delicately put it. Bill Sorrows, the extraordinary author of Short Hair Cook, whom Yuri had hoped would hear his new poem with its special references to his, Bill Sorrows' latest work, left with Peter. 4 women also left, including a blonde that Yuri had exchanged sarcasms with at the beginning of the evening. Fuck 'em all, he thought. Tonight, I sing for my muse alone. Alex called the crowd to order and he introduced him as the inestimable Yuri Yankevich. And he was on. He walked to the podium. Tonight, I think I'll only do 2 poems. He waved his hands at imaginary protest. No, that's all I feel like doing. And he began reading When a Bird in a timid, quavering voice, building and building, as the audience began to laugh.